Hello, everyone. All right, we are just about ready to kick things off again. So let's go ahead and take our seats now. We have another session going up on the rooftop going over Q1 data. So if you would like to go there, go ahead and make your way up there. But if you are hanging out on the main stage, let's go ahead and take our seats now. So for our next session, I'm really looking forward to this one. I've been looking forward to this one all day. So we are going to be hearing from some female leaders in the space. This session is all about women in e-commerce, and we're doing a founders panel. So please, let's give a massive round of applause for Stephanie Liu, Deepa Gandhi, and Desiree Rogers.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Whalies. I'm Stephanie. We're going to do a quick round of intros. So I'm going to start with you, Deepa.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Deepa Gandhi. I am one of the co-founders of Dagne Dover, which is a bag and accessories brand for you to get the most out of what you're carrying in any day. We launched in 2013 and have grown to be kind of like a celebrity influencer, parents, everybody fave bag. If you don't know us, you probably know us for our neoprene bags that you generally see on the streets of New York. And I specifically focus on the more COO, CFO, CRO side of things for the company.
My name is Desiree Rogers, in from Chicago. Our company is two cosmetics companies in the ethnic space. And so we purchased two organizations that have been in that arena for combined time of 80 years. We are working very much focused on our D2C business. But in addition to that, we are sold at, one brand is called Fashion Fair, sold at Sephora and Macy's. The other brand is called Black Opal, sold at Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Ulta.
Thanks, Desiree. And I'm Stephanie Liu. I'm the founder of Levitate Foundry. The company's been in existence since 2019, and we are now the largest female-founded Shopify Plus partner in North America. We're a performance marketing agency. We work with brands like Fashion Fair and Black Opal. We've had the opportunity to work with nearly 400 brands at this point, primarily D2C brands with an omni-channel arm. My background is 15 years in e-commerce, both on the marketplace side at Amazon, as well as D2C companies and omni-channel companies like The Honest Company and Vegamore, True Botanicals, so on and so forth. I also recently launched a brand platform called Levitate Brands, where we are acquiring omni-channel brands with a D2C focus. So, very excited today to be chatting with you all. We have two very amazing women here in e-commerce, and I'm going to just start off by asking the both of you some questions. So to start, what inspired you both to pursue a career in creating a brand? And Desiree, I know you had a very amazing career even prior to your brand, and how did you guys get started in your industry?
Okay, thank you. Well, I think a couple of things. I've worked in a bunch of different industries, from utilities to insurance to actually a little stint in government at the White House. And so as I came out of the White House, I was really determined to do something in my community, in that space. I really had never done anything in, quote unquote, ethnic space. And so coming out of the Obama White House, that was a pledge that I made to myself. And so I began to look around and think about what that might be. And I wound up working for Johnson Publishing, Ebony and Jet fame, and also owned Fashion Fair Cosmetics, ultimately moving through that and creating digital space for those magazines, because as we all know, print is gone and now everybody's reading everything digitally. And so that really was my first introduction to the power of digital and really thinking about that in a different way. And as I came out of that and looked and said, you know what, I want to stay in this ethnic space. I think beauty is right for me, based on just my experience and really wanting to be involved with women in particular. And so I went about trying to find, I didn't want to start a brand from scratch. I wanted to take mature brands. That's been my life's work. It's taking mature brands and repositioning them in a new world. And so Black Opal, I chased that founder for 3 years and bought that business. And then Fashion Fair went into bankruptcy within 3 months of that first acquisition. And so then we had two. And so we inherited a lot of retailers with these purchases. And so we had to really think about D2C, enter Stephanie, to really help us think through that, think about who our customers were and how could we begin to create. Remember, these brands existed. What was the new Fashion Fair going to look like? Who are we going to go after? You know, where are we going to, I mean, for my business, shade matching is very important. How are we going to integrate that? How are we going to talk about all the normal stuff, I would say.
So yeah, my career, a little different, but running a brand now. So I started my career in finance. I was actually working on the trading floor at Lehman Brothers in like the peak of the market, and then '08 hit, and that was a very interesting time. And I was also miserable. I was like, this is not what I want to do. Just because I am good at financy things doesn't mean I need to work in finance. And so I actually left and went over to work at Club Monaco, which at that time was a Ralph Lauren brand. And I kind of got into the entire merchandising and planning world. But after a couple of years there, I was like, I'd always want to start my own business. I had this idea. It was more of like a SaaS inventory planning management platform idea. And I was like, let me go back to business school, maybe work on this, see what happens. I then run into a friend of mine, Melissa Mash, who was obsessed with handbag problems and solving handbag problems. She had worked at Coach for years, was the year above me at Wharton. We'd known each other actually for a long time before being at school together. And she invited me to a focus group. And I left the group and I was like, you know what, that other business idea I had sounds great, but let's work on this together. Like this idea of solving women's handbag problems. And now we've, expanded that to all bag problems, seemed really compelling and needed in the market. So I spent the 2 years I was at business school really working on the idea. It was the only thing I was thinking about, obsessed with. And then we launched in June of 2013, right after I graduated, and we've been running since then.
Awesome. And I would say, Desiree, can you shed some light on your past career in the White House and how maybe some of the things that you learned working with the president and in government has actually led you to become a stronger leader in e-commerce?
Well, certainly Obama and the whole team, they really, I believe, were the first from a politician standpoint to really see the value and the potential by bringing in, smaller donations globally, really, and really using social media more so than anyone else used social media. I can remember when we first entered into the White House, the president saying to me, "Oh my gosh, they're taking my phone away. I'm not going to be able to look at anything." And he had a BlackBerry, and he was like, "I want my BlackBerry." But I think for us is just we really saw the power of being able to share this particular brand, the Obama brand, being able to share it, being able to hear in real time what people were thinking, how they were feeling, being able to then take that and incorporate that immediately. So in the work that I was doing, I was the social secretary, and you might go, what is that? I really believed that that was a branding job and that it was an opportunity to really take the Obama brand and make it come to life in what we call experiential, right? And so everything we did was branded around hope, around change, around making the White House the people's house. And a lot of that information that was coming to us was coming through the social media team and them telling us what people were expecting from us and what people wanted to see. One very simple example is the Easter egg hunt. And the Easter egg hunt was traditionally done in DC. And so you had to stand in line. And mostly people that went to it were from Virginia and Maryland and DC. Not many people would fly there to stand in line to hope to get a ticket to go to this thing outside of the country. My other background is I did run the state lottery for 6 years. And so I made it a lottery. And so we made it a lottery, and we had people from all over the country attend their first Easter egg hunt, again, making certain that everyone was included from every state. All families were included. You know, you didn't have to be the traditional family. And we changed it around so that instead of being there all day with your family, we made 2-hour increments. So we would sweep after those 2 hours so we could get, instead of only 3,000 people being there or 10,000 people, we had 40,000 people. And so everything changed around, and then you see all the posts, right? It really is an open place. Really did fly from Hawaii and get in, you know, because people knew they were going to have their tickets and be able to get in. So it was really very much a part of the Obama administration, and really it continues to be part of their brand. And it just so happens they were one of the first to see the power, and there was actually a whole social media office and all of that.
Very, very cool. I only asked because I know, Deepa, you also had a very different background coming into this from finance and banking, and curious how you were able to parlay some of that experience into literally building one of the most successful, I would say, like fashion businesses of our decade.
Well, thank you for that. I'm just gonna leave now and take that compliment. So I think, as I said, like I worked in finance because when I was graduating college, you kind of just went and worked in finance or consulting, or you became a lawyer if you weren't going to become a doctor. And fun fact, I went to Johns Hopkins for undergrad, so I was one of the people that did not become a doctor. But and it was kind of like the de facto option because I was good at what I did. And what I learned when I actually left Lehman and finance and went over to Club Monaco, like my first job was to be an inventory planner. Was, guess what? All of those analytical, like Excel spreadsheet skills were really applicable. And what was really cool was, because I was so good at like the math of the job, I was able to actually get noticed very quickly at a very junior level by like senior leadership, because I was running analysis and writing like statistical, like, you know, like analysis around allocation in different stores, when that's not what everybody in my role was doing. But I was like, but this seems like it'll make us be more efficient and better at what we do. And so I think it was just that mind, right? That very analytical mind that I was able to pull into an industry then that I was really passionate about. It is much more fun for me to forecast demand for, like sweaters at that time, rather than, thinking about how that plays into like derivatives trades. As much as I could do that, I found this more fun. One was more lucrative than the other, so there's that life decision that I made. But it worked out because I'm here today, and I got to then, go to business school, start the brand, really drive and build Dagne Dover into what it is today. But that like financial, more than financial, but analytical mindset, it never goes away. And it's always super valuable. And even at Dagne Dover, I think something that we do, there's 3 of us that founded the brand. Each of us are very distinct minds, and we have distinct skill sets and strengths. But having said that, all of us are still very, we appreciate the creative, or you're like my co-founder, Jesse, who's the Dover of Dagne Dover, who is the creative. But we all appreciate that, but then we also appreciate the business and the importance to make data-driven decisions at the end of the day. And so whenever we're hiring, no matter what role you're coming into, no matter how much it leans to like the left brain or the right brain, we look for people that are balanced between both of those sides of their brain, because we love having designers who want to understand the data so that they can design, whether it's digital or product, they can design things that drive the business further. And then on the more operational financial side, which is my world, I love having a team that, while they can do all of that, they appreciate the creative, they appreciate the trends and what are we trying to do and the vision that we have. And I think that coming together allowed us to build a brand that really resonates with customers, but has also been able to be pretty like capital efficient and profitable and things like that, that at the end of the day very much matter.
Such a great answer. Learning from you guys. This next question is interesting. So what unique challenges have you faced as a woman in this space, and how have you overcome them? And I know certainly as a woman myself, obviously, in this space, starting a agency, it is, well, back in 2018-19, it was kind of like going against all odds, right? For me, I'll just say when I was a CMO at all these different brands, I'd hired so many agencies, and you see a lot of men running agencies. And when I first started Levitate, we were pretty much the only female founded agency at the time, end of 2018, early 2019. So definitely had a lot of challenges, but also a lot of benefit to that, quite frankly, because we didn't have a sales team here at Levitate for the first 3 or 4 years of our business. And actually it was, I would say, easier to sell our services to a female founder because we understood their audiences. Actually, here at Levitate, we employ over 80% women, so we certainly understand the female psychographic, and we're able to actually take advantage of that. But curious for the two of you, being in your industries, what kind of challenges have you seen?
So I'm going to layer one other piece onto that answer. And certainly I'm a female. I am a Black woman. And so as we have thought about the businesses that we run, of course, I say ethnic, I say all people, deeper skin tones, you fight through all of that, right? And there is a lot of pressure in my industry, particularly, I'm going to say, with companies, independent companies, that perhaps their founders look like me, but everyone wants to be able to politically be correct and say we have something for everybody. And so everyone wants to have 50 shades, and this is the claim to fame, the big company, I won't even say the name, but that's a big claim to fame, right? We got every shade. I can tell you, I can still go up there and they don't have my shade. Because brown is not brown, beige is not beige. There's many variations between. So when you look at my products, you see like, oh wow, these look the same to me. Try them on, they're not the same. So why am I saying that? Well, because we try to build a team of mostly ethnic women as we started the business. And we fell flat on that. Why did we fall flat on that? The reason is only 4% of the beauty employees, team members, whatever you want to call, including those that work in the stores, which we know a lot of those people are minorities, that are beauty associates in a Sephora or an Ulta. Only 4% are minorities, Black, African Americans. So you're fighting for a needle in a haystack, and we quickly realized, what, that's not going to work here. And so what we've been trying to do is like kind of manage through that, select, and we can't build everyone. I mean, we just started 3.5 years ago. We cannot take in everybody and try to teach them the business. We need people that know how to run the business. So it's been tricky for us to try to manage through all of that as we're building this business. And so I would say that, it's just been hard because we're non-existent, not non-existent, but there's so very few of us in this business. So I found that to be more of a challenge than being a woman. There are a lot of women in the beauty arena. In fact, it's almost, I don't know what the percentage is. And sometimes that can be tough, right? It's like, sometimes you need a few guys to break it up.
We recently added more men to our team, and so it's helping with our gender diversity. But as a woman, I would say, like, it's a funny story, but it's a story I always have to tell, is when we were first launching the brand and we were out there trying to fundraise to predominantly male investors, we generally were hoping that either they'd seen like a woman in their life, or they were asking a woman in their life about the product that we were trying to bring to market, because they weren't necessarily getting it at that time. And like, when I was at Wharton, we had this like pitch day. It was like a Shark Tank style pitch day. A bunch of like the most like active startups at the time got up there, and there was, you were going to win. And, it was just more like practice pitching than anything else, but it was still important. And I get up there, I do my whole spiel. Everybody's like, yes, we got like the crowd vote. Like everybody's like, we love Dagne Dover. Like we want to see this brand like become what it is now today, which was super exciting. And one of the judges, who's a professor there, he like raises his hand and he's like, let me ask you something. I was like, yes. what are you going to ask me? And his question was, do fashionable women even care about being organized? And that was the entire premise of how we started. So like, we're a much bigger brand today. We sell a lot more bags, but we started with like the perfect work tote for women, right? It was supposed to fit a laptop, a water bottle, keys, lip gloss, like all the things. And he asked me this question. I'm just like, yes, of course they do. Like, I worked in fashion before this. Like, why is this mutually exclusive? Also, like, there's a lot of like assumptions you're making with that question that we're not going to get into right now because it's kind of causing me to be angry as a woman. But, you know, we actually had many conversations that were a version of that. And then we kind of got past it. And honestly, though, I will say, like, we have a lot of investors that are men. Some of the people on our board are men, and they are the best type of men, right? They're the ones who really believe in us. Some of them actually prefer to invest in women over men because they believe they see better returns, and things like that. So I think being a woman is interesting as a founder, and just as somebody who really cares about her career. And then I think the other thing that has been challenging is once I became a mom, I think being a founder who is a mom is a whole different ballgame because you're having to balance the two and figure it out. But I think there's a network. You build your network. You find people around you that are like-minded, that are supportive, and then you also, I think what we try to do is be better women as founders to the people that work for us at our company. And so our culture really is impacted by the experiences we had going through our careers. And at one point, I can tell you about all the stories from my like Lehman days, but that's, you know, in the past, so we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, just kind of following up on that, can you share a little bit more about the respective cultures at your companies?
Yes. Love talking about culture. It is probably the thing that we are maybe more passionate about as founders at Dagne Dover than even selling great bags into the world. Like when we started the brand, the three of us, I think, bonded and really found each other around two things. One, the belief that this idea would work and that there was a white space and that we needed to address it. But the second was we wanted to build a better culture. We had worked at these large retail companies that had toxic environments, that had competition that was not necessary, that just like all the things, right? And we were like, we can do better. And as women that are planning to hopefully have families and things like that, we can do better. And so I think 11 years in now, which is crazy that we're almost at 11 years, I think the team would agree. Something we continuously hear from people, especially as we grow and we continue to hire. You know, in the past 12 months, we went from around 30 employees to almost 60. So that was a big jump for us. And in that, we hired a lot of people that came from a lot of other great companies. But what we hear is, I've never worked at a company like this. Like my life is better because of this job. I'm able to be the parent that I want to be. I'm able to actually pursue other dreams and passions of mine because of the culture that you provide. It actually is, to me, because it's become so ingrained in what we do and who we are. It's still surprising to me when I hear somebody say that. It literally happened 2 days ago. But then also something we take a lot of pride in because we put so much into that. And when we hire, when we interview, it's actually a very long, slow process because we want to ensure that people aren't just able to do the job that we're hiring for, but that they are truly a culture fit. And a mentor of mine years ago gave me that piece of advice. She said, hire for culture. A resume will tell you if somebody can do the job, but hire for culture. And it's probably the best piece of advice I've ever received.
Amazing.
Well, I might want to come and work over there.
Well, whatever you want.
So we are at a different stage. We're 3.5 years in, and certainly there's some natural competition between the brands, which I think is a little bit healthy. And so we, and also the business is changing. So as you grow, you may need different skill sets than you needed at the very beginning. And so with that comes people deciding that they want to exit, or us deciding they should probably exit. And so we are in that like weird, difficult, tricky part of our culture and our existence where we're aspiring to all of these things, but we're having to make very difficult decisions about who stays and then who comes into the business while we try to create a culture that we can all be proud of. We're getting there, but it is definitely a slow process. I definitely agree that people coming in, we're looking at their character, their values, what's important to them, what do they want to achieve in the time that they're with us. We're not pretending they're going to be with us forever, but what can we deliver on what they say they want? Because that is part of being, a happy culture, I think, or a great culture. We're all working probably harder than we will be working hopefully in the future as we try to add more people, but also, try to stay where we need to be from an expense standpoint. And it is stressful. We have a lot of retailers that we're dealing with, and it's a tough business. And so how do you manage to have people be, as happy as they can be, getting the work done? And I think part of it is when they see success. It's a much different environment when you're working to success versus you have that success, because then everyone's happy. Yay, yay. If you don't make the numbers, it's like, I worked that hard and we still didn't get, so it is really, we're at a different phase, and it's a lot of hand holding. There's a lot of great things too. I mean, we were on GMA and we did really well there. Everyone was ecstatic. We partnered with the American Cancer Society simply because Black women are dying 41% more than their counterparts when they get breast cancer. And many of them are getting it before they even reach the age of 40. And so we did a whole project like that. So we're trying to do more things that have people feel good about the work they're doing while we're climbing that hill.
We're going to open it up to questions, but any last pieces of advice for all the people out in the audience? I would say for me, I get asked this question a lot. So they're like, oh, you're a woman, you're largest female founded. I don't think of woman. I just think I started at a Shopify agency, and I've never let that hold me. I've never really thought of myself in that way. So I think one piece of advice is if you have a skill and you can make an impact, go for it.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, don't let preconceived notions prevent you from doing things. And I will say, like, watching my husband and how he approaches his career has probably been the most influential in my ability to be like, wait, yeah, I can do that too. Like, nobody should question this. We're good. But you need to, but make sure you surround yourself with that people. And I think to that, I think it's really important to be purposeful about your like personal board of advisors. Who are you surrounding yourself with, whether it's mentors, sponsors within your company, peers, people who play devil's advocate for you, right? Things like that. Make sure that you are fostering your personal board of advisors and continuously are expanding that and going to that group to really make sure that you are pushing yourself forward and doing the things and holding yourself accountable to your like long-term goals.
I would say the earlier that you can get on a path that you personally are really going to respect in terms of the work you're doing, the better. Sometimes we keep putting it off. Oh, one more year here and then I'm going to do, get to it. Don't delay, get to it. And, some of the other things that have been said, you got to be curious. You're going to constantly need to maybe switch some things. Don't be embarrassed by that. But don't be ashamed to ask for advice. Don't be ashamed to pick up the phone and call somebody that maybe you don't know, but they're doing something that you really want to understand. It's amazing how helpful people will be to you. And so I would say stop the hand wringing and just get with it. And it is going to be hard, but there are going to be so many rewards and so many days where you're just like, yes, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm doing it the way that, I think it should be done. And you can be just really happy about, as I say, living that good life according to you and not according to anyone else's script for you.
Amazing. We're going to open up the floor for questions.
I got the mic, so raise your hand if you want it. Who wants to go first? There we go. Ready?
It's okay. It's good. It's foam. So, hi, my name's Juju. Thank you so much for being on the panel. I wanted to ask, so you both had very different career paths before you got into the brand side, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more of expanding on like the biggest changes and the biggest like adjustments you had to make, or maybe what surprised you and what that experience was like going from a different side of your career to the next?
I think one thing is you got to put your fear aside. You know, in today's world, I think there are many more people that are jumping around, you know, maybe because they have to, something closed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's much more, what am I saying? You know, much more acceptable, much more the trend. And so there's not this, I'm going to spend 20 years at X firm. I think what's interesting is, in this case, is not just jumping from business to business, but the discipline of what you're working on. And so saying, okay, I have this expertise, for example, and I can apply it in a different way. And so I think there's a little bit less of that I'm seeing, but that's the bravery part. That's the part where you have to be brave and have to say, okay, I might, you know, be being pushed this way to do finance or marketing, but you know what? I'm going to use that skill and also twist it with this because I really think I can do that. And so you have to kind of decide that as opposed to others deciding that for you, because people do like to put you in boxes, because guess what? They're trying to get the work done. You're good at that? Great, let's go.
I think that's great advice. So,
I think we had another
yeah,
question.
let's go.
We have room for one more.
Thank you. Deepa, Desiree, Stephanie, thanks for the panel. Very, very enlightening. As founders of primarily DTC brands, what are some of the core areas of investment in DTC business, in your DTC business, that you're thinking of over this year? I mean, obviously, the last few years have been tumultuous for the business, but stronger brands have emerged stronger, right? So, what are you thinking about in terms of investment in that part of your business?
So the first thing that I will say as a D2C brand, even though we don't always like to consider ourselves as that, is product first, right? I think you can be a product first or a marketing first brand, and we have always been a product first brand, and that's always where the majority of our investment and time and resources grow, because if we can put great product into the world, what's amazing is then things like word of mouth works, which is free. It is a very profitable acquisition channel, right? Versus getting caught up in, if I spend this much and then I do this and then I do that, or if I lose this much to drive this much in terms of like acquisition, right? That can be a really slippery slope. And we've seen a lot of brands struggle because they got into that kind of like vicious acquisition cycle. So even now, product first, always. That's where we've put so much of our time. That's what we invest in. We have actually a ton of new products launching over the next 24 months. And then the second is right now, content, like content for social. Like, how do you, like content for social, like that is king. It has been for a long time, but we have seen a shift in what works and who we're trying to get and who we're trying to go after. So that's the other big thing that we're really investing in.
Yes, I would agree with that. We have put product first. On the beauty side, it's interesting though, because I think, and many of my manufacturers think, that marketing is leading. And so it's not really, people are following, oh, I want to be like this, I want to look like that, da 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 da. Not always checking or really looking at what that product is. Now you have your purists, you know, with vegan and da 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 da, natural ingredients, but otherwise, a lot of these products, I shouldn't say this, they're crap. And they're selling off the shelves, you know, because, you know, so-and-so is wearing it. I'm like, do you think you're going to look like her because you put on a lip gloss? Really? I mean, did you check what that product is? You know, but so in beauty, it really, I wish it was more product driven than I feel that it is today. And so unfortunately, as we manage, we got to manage making certain. I would never put something on the market that's not the finest quality. But I also have to make certain that I have the money for marketing at the same time, because it's not going to work. Yeah. And so I agree. I wish it was product first. I know that's not the case. And so the other thing really is, just to add to the assets, as I used to be in the magazine business, it's worse than creating a magazine every week or every month. It's just endless. And you know immediately which ones worked and didn't work. And people can say, oh, that worked. The next day it won't work. I mean, it is crazy out there. The other big thing I would say is collaboration. And so what we used to call mashups and is just how can you collaborate to just get out of the clutter would be another thing.
Great answers. I think we're out of time. So thank you both so much for being here today. Thanks, everyone. Round of applause.